It's Monday, and Mike and I will be back down at the shed later on today. But I don't think I've showed this yet, but Mike has bought a new 3D printer. I think I mentioned that in the last video. We have it up and running, and right now we are printing out some LED holders that we are going to use on the Capt Fantastic table. So let me switch this over to the other side, and I will show you that. So here it is, Mike's 3D printer. He got the Prusa Mark III kit. I put it together, and it worked flawlessly from the first test print. I can highly recommend this machine. It's a little pricey, but it is well worth it. It does just a fabulous job of printing, and we've knocked out a bunch of different parts already. So these are clamps. They're designed to clamp LEDs right over the hole and hold them down with one screw. So we will be using these this afternoon. After this is done, I'm going to print two other ones, a long version of this for the inch holes. These are for the half-inch holes. And then a stepped version that's used to hold LEDs for the rollovers. So we will get those going. Maybe I'll catch a shot of those printing off before we get down to the shed tonight. Okay, that batch has finished printing, and I've dumped them off. The printer is getting ready to start printing the second batch now. This is such a neat printer. The first thing it does is it makes sure that the bed is level by checking 9 points on the bed. And once it's checked that, it'll adjust internally so that it knows how to draw on it and make sure that it's the right height above the bed. Then, excuse my dogs in the background, it does a little purge of the excess filament. Then it'll draw a border, I forget what that's called, it's a skirt, or I don't know, anyway, brim, something. It draws it around the outer edge of the area that it's going to be plotting in. And then once it's done that, I think it'll go around that twice, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, I'm mistaken. And then it starts printing off the parts. So this is a 3-hour and 40-minute print job. It's noon right now, so this will be done about a little before 4 when I'll get the parts off. So it's been a half an hour since I started the print, and you can see on the left there, there's some stretched versions of the ones I printed out earlier, and then on the right there's a 2-piece version. These are the little piece stands it up off the table a little bit to give it some clearance underneath the light. So like I said, these will take a little over 3.5 hours to print. So it'll be ready this afternoon for us to install on the table. So we'll see you down at the shed. We are down at the shed. Mike and I both got here about 5 minutes ago. All we've done is set the playfield up here. We were actually here yesterday doing a little bit of work, so the playfield is mostly populated now. Most of the components have been put back on. Except for this new plastic here. We just installed the old plastics everywhere else, and we will swap those out at the last moment when we're putting the whole machine back together. Of note, we were missing one new rubber, so that's an old one right there, but it's hardly noticeable, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Our wooden boards, I painted them last night, second coat, and we need to put those on. That might be one of the first things we start with. And then we're going to start installing the lights. There's the bag of attachments that I was printing off at the house, and so we will be using those to connect the lights. So we'll bring you back when we get going. So we're looking at where the holes are coming through and just making sure that the holes we've drilled clear the mechanical parts that we still have to mount, and so they look good.
Here, here, and here.
Right, and the rail comes under here or on the outside?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but it'll clear those too. So that should be good. Now for the big guns.
Now there's no turning back.
Beautiful, just like the factory.
Looks like it was put there on purpose. And it's cutting it nice too. It's not fraying the clear coat, which is a good thing.
So that's it. We'll get that cleaned up and turn it back over and start running the light bulbs. So we've decided to add one more on the plastic that sits right here. There's a light underneath this rubber, and I think there's a light that mounts in here, but there's no light right here, right where Elton John's face is. So we definitely think we need one there. So we're going to add one there, and we're going to try and do this work all from the top. So I'll film you doing this too, Mike.
Well, let's make sure we put it. I don't want to put it in the center. I want it kind of centered
under his eyes,
under his face. So get my pencil here. See if I can make a mark. Didn't leave a mark.
Yeah, it did. Right there.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
All right. It's certainly close enough.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So that's it. We looked around, don't really see any other places that we could add lights, so I think that's going to be it. So we're here putting on these LED holders, and basically they just slide over the LED and one screw holds them down, and we're not dressing down any of the other wires right now. We're just going to try to lace these in as cleanly or neatly as possible. We're not pre-drilling or anything, so this one popped out. That screw's not tight. It's not holding very well.
Well, no.
We might hot glue that one. Matter of fact, several of these are not holding as nicely as I would want. So this is our first design and first attempt at doing this, and we already think we're going to change the design up a little bit, see if we can get a more positive clamping action on the connector. So we have decided to stop with this for the night because we just do not like the way these hinges are working. And we've come up with a new design. We're going to make a two-part hinge with a live hinge on it. It's going to sit together something about like that. And then it'll fold over, capture the piece, and then screw down. And then that'll be a positive capture, positive positioning, and we'll be good to go. So we're not going to put any more of these on tonight. We'll probably take off the ones we've done and clean it back up, and then I'll print off some new ones, and we'll try again maybe tomorrow with those. So we'll see how it goes. Depends on how many I can get printed up by tomorrow. So anyway, so that's it for now. So last night at the shed, we decided that the original holders we had designed would not work. So I came back home and designed this new holder. It's basically a two-piece holder. This print has 2 more hours to finish, so it's not showing you everything. But basically, the part closest to me is the cap, and the part in the next row up is the light holder. So you snap the light in there, then you snap the cap on top of it, and that little square hole, there'll be a square matching peg in the top hole here, the top piece here, and those will snap together and then be screwed in place, and it will securely hold the LED without any glue or melting or anything like that. Now, because there's 2 pieces to print instead of just one, it takes a lot longer. I'm printing 4 rows of caps and lids with 18 holders in each row. I started this print at about 8 o'clock last night, and it will be done printing at 10 o'clock this morning. So that is quite a while to print all of these. I have a version of longer ones to go in the 1-inch holes ready to go on as soon as this one is done, and that print will take about 4 hours. I'm only going to do 18 of them, so it'll print quite a bit quicker, but that should give us enough to get our lights installed this evening. And just so you can see what I'm talking about, here is the test piece I made last night to make sure that I had this all fitted together. You can see the lid on the left there has got a little peg that sticks up that locks into the hole there. It's a loose fit, but it just needs to hold it aligned until we can get the screw put in. I'm trying to do this through the camera lens is really hard. Okay. Let me put it together while I'm looking. So that just goes together like that. And you can see it holds together, leaves enough room for the wires to come out. But once that screw is put in there, nothing can leave. That'll be a nice tight clamping action. And we'll be able to move on. And if we ever need to take it off for some reason, One screw takes it off. The piece lifts out. For the cable dressing, we're thinking about printing some more brackets similar to this, with just like a little U-channel that clamps over the wire and screws it down to the table. We could probably buy something a lot cheaper than we can print it, but what's the fun in that? So anyway, you'll see at the shed this evening. Well, it's Tuesday, a little after 4. Mike and I are meeting back down here to continue where we left off last night. I have printed nearly 100 small holders and 18 large holders, and I think that should be enough to do this playfield. So we'll get busy and start putting those down. So Mike wanted me to show what we're doing with the rollover lights. I'll come over to this one here because it's a little bit easier to see. So what we're doing is we're mounting a light on each side of the rollover, and the only reason we're doing that is to more evenly illuminate that, because the LEDs are a little directional, and if we just put one on one side, we'd have a bright spot on one side. We did this when we did the 8-ball table, and it looked really good. So we decided we would just right off the bat start with this one, except the 8-ball had 1 and this one's got 8. But other than that, it's the same thing. So it's a little squirrely with the wires here right now, but we will dress those down and neaten them up later. So it's been an hour and a half, and we have completely wired the entire lighting string. We ended up burning, I believe, 3 LEDs. We had to burn one right there, another one right here, and a third one right there. And it's completely wired except for the lights inside these. We still need to build those harnesses and wire that up, but we got this connector right here that will allow us to put those things in, so it's very convenient to the layout of the table. So the next step is going to be running all the wires for the switches and solenoids, and that's going to be probably my to-do. One of my favorite parts of this whole wiring was that little centerpiece right there. I think that looks really slick. So anyway, and we'll probably use cable ties to neaten up the cables a little bit. Now that we got the LEDs held down, we don't need to staple these wires down, so we'll probably just bunch them up and put some small cable ties on it to tighten them up a little bit. But that's just for show. There's no real reason that we need to do that at all. We could leave them just like this, and this table would function just fine, except maybe these ones over on the edge like that need to be dressed back away from the edge so that they don't catch when you're opening the box up. But that's it. It was a very good hour and a half. These new brackets we built really worked well. We pulled the drop targets off to make it easier to drill the holes for these LEDs along the back here. So Mike is putting that on right now, and then that's probably going to end the night for working on the underside of this thing. So not sure what we'll do next, but I think we'll find something.